Ted Higgins made a contribution to sport in Peterborough as an athlete, coach, and owner. Ted started swimming at age 7 under the guidance of Gord Minty. During his teen years, he won the Mississauga half-mile swim 6 consecutive years, and at age 49 placed second in this same race. In the 1962 year, Ted coached Peterborough Pee Wee hockey team to the championship at the renowned Quebec International Pee Wee Tournament. Ted's Lacrosse Association started as a member of Bantam, Midget, and Juvenile lacrosse teams. The highlight of Ted's playing career came in 1961 when his Hastings Legionnaires won the Minto Cup and were Eastern Canada finalists in 1962. He played 2 years of lacrosse with the Brooklyn Redmen and then returned to Peterborough in 1964 to reactivate the Peterborough Speedy Earns Seniors as general manager. For the next 2 decades, Ted proved his dedication to lacrosse at the junior and senior levels, serving as coach, team owner, and even bus driver. He was an executive member of the 1971 Peterborough PCO's Eastern Canadian Junior Champs, followed by 4 consecutive Minto Cup titles, 1972 to 1975. Success continued at the senior level, with the Peterborough Red Oaks winning the Mann Cup in 1978 and the Eastern Canadian Championship in 1979. Through the 1980s and 1990s, Ted Higgins is responsible for senior lacrosse being played in Peterborough. He is presently president of the Lakers Senior Lacrosse Club. So Ted Higgins, thank you so much for joining us. And like I told you, we're going to ask the last time you heard that bio read and what kind of emotions does it bring up? What does it feel like to hear it?
Well, it's amazing. A lot of stuff I had forgotten about as life goes on and the mind has other things to occupy itself. It's very refreshing. I thank you for that, Dan. What a way to start.
And when you were inducted, you go back to that night. Was it in 1999? We're talking more than 20 years ago now. But when you did get inducted, what was that night like for you?
Well, that was very gratifying. Truly a wonderful moment for me to surround myself with some other great athletes and builders. My doing in sport was a little bit of playing ability, but mostly building great relationships with great people, and certainly we have a pile of them in Peterborough.
And for you as a youngster, I noticed you listed in what's kind of inspired you to get into sports and keep you involved, it was your friends.
My good friend Ken Rattan, at 13, we picked up a lacrosse stick but never got organized. He was going out to try out for the Bantams, so we got on our bicycles in the south end and rode up to Miller Bowl, and when we get up there, sure enough, they didn't have a goalie. So, the new guy on the block, Ted, you go in the net, put the pads on, and that's how I get started as the goalie. So it was quite a start.
Ken Rattan, actually, he shared that story with us as well. We had a chance to speak with him. He shared that same story, yeah. And you were one of the smaller kids as well, and goalies have changed. So goalies back when you were playing were usually traditionally the smaller kids, and how different is it when you watch the game?
Well, much bigger, and they're much bigger now, and the equipment is much bigger, and the goalposts are much bigger. And I recall in being a little guy, we wanted to work all the angles. We were going into the finals, Eastern Canada finals with Brampton Excelsiors. And being so small, my biggest downfall was I didn't have the height, and they dropped them over my shoulders. So I got a pair of thongs, double pair of thongs, the summertime thongs, and I glued them on the bottom of my running shoes. It gave me about another 1.5 inches. Got that up, and of course I put hockey shoulder pads on, and we got some of the problems solved. Wow. And it worked pretty good. It's all legal, of course.
Yes. I wonder what that would look like now when people would try and put, I guess you were wearing platforms playing goalie.
Well, yeah, they were thongs. They were the rubberized thongs.
Flip-flops, right?
Flip-flops. Yeah. Took them apart, glued them with contact, got on them with cement. And tell you a wonderful thing, being small-legged guy, we used to have a run around after the practice, around the rink twice. Man, when you get these things on, it's like the guys in the Olympics that have the legs removed where they put the wire thing. Wow, did they ever spring you? I could win the race. I was just flopping around. Whoa, did they ever give you a lift? So it's all good.
And that led to this championship.
That was the Hastings Legionnaire in 19. That was a great year for me. In 1961, we won that. We won it. Interesting series that was. My good friend Ken Rattan was the captain. We won the best of 7 in 5-1. We had to win the 5th game because they disqualified us. The Burnaby Norburns protested a game. We had to beat them 5 times to win the Mann Cup. Came back to Hastings, had quite a blast there. They had the fire trucks out and so on. That was in the winter. I'm sorry, that was in the summer. That fall or February, we took the kids down to Quebec and we won the international. So it was a big season for me.
That's very exciting. That tournament alone, it's a world famous tournament, right? The Quebec Pee Wee International Tournament.
Amazing, amazing. One of our games we played against Rockland, and they had a game, that guy named Guy Lafleur played in their team. And yeah, we had 19,000 people in the Colisée in Quebec City for the final game. It was a straight elimination knockout tournament. You lose a game, done, you're packed up and go. We were able to win 6 in a row, so it was amazing. Now, mind you, we had some great kids. We Peterborough and District, we had Rick McLeish, who went on with the Flyers. He was an amazing player. You could put him defense forward, put him on, a tireless guy. The other guy was Dickie Redmond, and of course Dennis Patterson. They all went on to play in the National Hockey League. When they're Pee-wees, not knowing their potential, full potential, it's very gratifying to see those fellows graduate. It was quite an experience for them as well as the old guy here.
It's amazing how it goes from that tournament, and so many players end up projecting on to the NHL. It truly is. And Guy Lafleur, did he have long hair back then as well?
He was a kid. He probably had a brush cut like the rest of the kids. Yeah.
Now let's go back to your childhood and let's try and track along for your upbringing in sports. And how do you get into swimming as a sport?
We had a summer cottage, the world famous Higgins Island. The Mississauga Lake is still there, not a very big island, but my mom and dad were very, very adamant that we learn to swim being on the island, and they founded this island at the age of 3. So we got me going to Y every Saturday morning and swimming under the great coach Gordon Minty. What a wonderful man he was. Died at a very young age of heart attack. He's about 51 years old. Gord spent 40 hours a week at the Y teaching kids to swim. And I learned to swim there and became a pretty good swimmer. I didn't have much in the leg department. Look at the size of the hands on the guy. So I had big hands, and yeah, I was able to keep up to the big guys till the turn came. And on the turn, they'd be able to push off with the long legs and long arms. But I could catch them at the other end because of the hands. And, yeah, swimming was very good to me.
Is that the sport where you can go play it? It's kind of just an escape for you, or you can kind of really get into it?
I think I was having fun swimming, and because of my ability, I was able to stay up with the top bunch. Kind of leads you to keep playing. If you're on the bottom end of whatever sport you're playing, you get a little disillusioned, disgruntled, and you kind of taper off. Because I was able to stay with the big guys, and we went away to provincial finals and so on, it was good.
And then that kept you in races until the age of 49. You did one more race, as we heard in your bio at the start.
Sure. Races, yeah. My last race was when I was 75.
Oh, wow.
It was up at Mississauga Lake again. I didn't fare too well. I had a lot of young bucks there. They were 45 and 50. But yeah, I finished 7th or 8th in about a 30 pack, so it was okay.
And water skiing as well, cottage sports.
Oh my, yeah, it was a show off. We talk about that, but it was all good. And most of all, at our cottage, we had a lot of friends, a lot of visitors. My children came along and they brought friends. I think the most satisfaction I had was teaching people how to ski. I'm very patient and I had an ability to convey the things they were doing right and things they were doing wrong. Very gratifying. I taught a lot of people to water ski, which is I like that.
So in your summers growing up, you weren't around Peterborough for the most part. You were mostly at the cottage, I'm guessing.
On the weekends, yes,
okay.
Yes, yeah.
So then, as everybody that we've spoken with, the guys that grew up in Peterborough, they talk about riding their bikes to East City Bowl or riding their bikes to Miller Bowl to play lacrosse, to play baseball, one of the two. What were your weeks like with your friends like Ken Rattan going around and just playing lacrosse? You said you didn't pick it up until you were 13, but 13, prior to that, what were you guys up to?
Well, we'd play a little bit of road hockey. He lived on O'Connell Road, I lived on Orpington, so we're 4 or 5 blocks apart. But I got to know him maybe through hockey, and we used to go and watch the old senior bees play at the Civic Arena and so on, and watch the trailermen, the timbermen and the trailermen at Miller Bowl. And of course, we joined the rest of the kids and under the side wall and get in and watch the seniors play for no charge.
Nice.
It was nice. Was nice. Yeah, that was quite an experience, Miller Bowl, playing outdoors. And we, although at a young age, Miller Bowl was a wonderful arena, it had a couple of drawbacks. So the Canada Packers was just around the corner across the road, and of course the slaughterhouse and the smell of the animals and so on was a deterrent. And also the spring of the year, a lot of mosquitoes, black flies, and of course they had Mother Nature to deal with the odd time to be rained out. So it was all good to a degree, but there was drawbacks to having the old outdoor bowl.
Except, well, the atmosphere, like, it must have been amazing. That's every time I think about it, the thought of a lacrosse game outside and what it would have sounded like blocks away. Like, how loud was it on a packed night if you're in the area and somebody scores a goal?
Well, it was very loud. And of course, the lighting in an area like that, that was back in the early 50s. Not a lot of ballparks and so on. The illumination of the ball, you could see it 2 or 3 blocks away. You got to realize back then, no television. We had a great newspaper, The Examiner, but no television. So people, it was pretty easy to draw a crowd because people had idle time on and wanted to come and see a great game. They put 4,000 people in the Miller Bowl there, so it was quite an atmosphere. One of the characteristics, in every town there's always a couple of guys that stand out. Joe McGuire, he was a guy that used to sell the Cracker Jack. The Cracker Jacks were 10 cents each, and of course he'd have a hat, and he'd be sitting up in the 6th row on the bleachers. He'd put off the hat, and before the Cracker Jack went up, you'd throw down your 10-cent piece. And of course they had a wharf affair, a boardwalk, and the boardwalk would have cracks between them. And of course, if your dime missed and the dime went down the crack, Joe said, another dime before you get your Cracker Jack. Little things like that were pretty funny at that time.
Now, how much do you take for, because you guys, as the Lakers, now the current day, present day Lakers, really don't have a hard time putting 4,000 people in the PMC, I guess, on a Thursday night. And there are things to do. There's TV, there's the movies, other forms of entertainment. Why would you say the Lakers now, present day, are able to draw just like they did back then, or their iteration of the team back then? What's comparable?
Well, being a very competitive world and everything has got quicker and faster and dressed up and bigger people, bigger athletes, it's truly, we have to put on a great show. And we've been very lucky to draft some great people and put on the best show in the world or the best team in the world. Truly winning is everything, and to be successful, you got to win. And it's amazing how human nature and people, not many people follow losers, they all like to follow winners. That is a very wonderful thing that we're very thankful for. We've got some real winners, some great athletes, and we're able to put on a great, exciting show.
Now, you're a fair lacrosse player. You went and played on in that league with the Brooklyn Redmen. You have your championship. We've got the jersey right here with us. But when it came down to it, and people credit you with saving senior lacrosse in Peterborough. I've heard many people say that. Before I even met you, I had heard that in town, being somebody not from Peterborough. So you hear that about somebody. And now, when you hear that, when people credit you with saving senior lacrosse, what does that make you think?
Well, I'm very proud and very grateful for that, Dan. I got a call. It all happened 20 years ago. Jim Bishop called me one day and he said, "Ted, the Peterborough team is folded up. Is there anything you can do about it?" And he said, "Yeah, they've folded up. There's no more team anymore." So I said, "Jim, I'm going over to the rink and see what's up here and do a little investigating." At that time, I was an executive, but just a glorified spectator. I was not very active. And so I come over to the rink, and sure enough, in the dressing room, we went in there, not a thing, not a stick was left. So I started making a few calls. This was on a Tuesday night. And I asked the guy, "Listen, what's up? Do you want to keep this thing going? I'm prepared to put a few bucks in it," which was not much money then. But we'd grab a hold of this thing and get back going and finish out the league anyway, and maybe we can resurrect this thing. Sure enough, I had everybody show up the next night. We had a little meeting and they had a little chat. We went around the dressing room. They all had their say. That was on a Wednesday. The next scheduled game for the Lakers and Quakers then was in Fergus on Friday night, and we get in the cars, go to Fergus, and number 1 win. And after that, it was tough going, but we were able to. The team never missed a beat in the schedule, which was good for the game and the Ontario Lacrosse Association, which I'm very proud of. And to be able to do that, quite honored. But talk about trials and tribulations. thank goodness for my wife. We used to have our executive to our house. We'd feed them, and she'd make sandwiches for the kids on the buses, and kids on the cars and so on. And God, the work that she did, along with me, to keep it going. And then we surrounded ourselves with some very ambitious and people who wanted to see this team take off and go. Well, put it all together, and a lot of hard work, but we got there, so it's pretty gratifying.
If you ask yourself why you did it, do you have an answer for yourself?
Well, I'm a very competitive guy, and I don't like to say no, and I don't like to get beat. And many times I used to go after each season was over while we were growing. A couple of years we didn't make the playoffs. Times I won't forget is getting in the car, and we'd have a OLA meeting on a Sunday morning. Get in the car and you drive up there by yourself. You do a lot of thinking. You think, what the hell am I doing in this situation? Have you not had enough? However, you play it out, and you're able to talk to some people and get some more personnel and upgrade the caliber of talent. And you might say I was overly competitive and wanting to see it happen. And being that I'd been a player and it had been good to me, I wasn't a great goaltender, but I got a chance to play on the big stage and thought, this is great. So we'll do our best.
Having played for the Brooklyn Redmen, how does that give you any sort of sentimental feelings when the Lakers play the Redmen? Is it a conflict for you at all? I know it was only a couple of years.
Not at all, because some of those kids then, my age, are now my age, and we sit in the sands and we go and chat and go and have a brew after the game, and it's all friends and it's all about the games, and we talk about today's teams and caliber and the competition, and no, it's all friendships. And off the floor, we still have a lot of good friends at Brooklyn.
And now for you, your role with the team when you did, I guess, take it over in the late 70s, it went from everything from, I guess, doing almost laundry for the team to driving the bus to doing everything, your wife making sandwiches for the players. Like, how much of your life did it really take over the Peterborough Lakers, just to focus on keeping them moving?
It took a lot of time. We'd come to the arena here, and she'd be selling the tickets at the door, and I'd be pulling the tabs off and letting them in, and the bar would open at the end of the period. We'd go down and lift the caps off the beer, and yeah, we did it all but help them clean up the arena afterward. As far as the team and acquiring players, the draft was in place then, and we were able to get some kids here. I know that in my flooring business, I hired 4 kids, and 3 of them stayed with us during the summers. We fed them and kept them and so on. And yeah, just to have them part of our team to make us a little more competitive.
How long have you been singing the anthems on opening night?
About 20 years.
Really?
Yeah, yes.
And the white or the tux, has that always been part of it?
Well, that's an offspring. I have another side of me. I enjoy music, and about 25 years ago, or 20 years ago, I joined an old folks team called the Golden Tones, and we used to put on a show down at the showplace every year. Friday night, and then we have a Saturday matinee, musical variety show, and we'd raise about $10,000 for charity. We split up charities each year, and I had a lot of fun stepping on stage. That's pretty exciting, and performing in front of people. It's very, very exciting.
Now, when you do get a chance to, this is your pride and joy, I'm guessing, in terms of sports, as far as all your accomplishments go, the Mann Cup right here beside us, which we haven't paid any attention to so far, but it's quite the trophy. And you've been able to lift this trophy several times. Does it ever get old?
No, it never gets old, but it gets heavier. Every team that wins, they put another little caption on the bottom, and there's a lot of them. A little bit of sentimental value to that trophy. Back in '02, the boys, Matty Giles and his boys from the Beaches, Matty was getting married and the series was over, and he said, Ted, can we take the trophy up? We're going to celebrate it. I'm going to a stag up at the cottage at Georgian Bay or somewhere. Well, I got a call from Darren Axford. Darren Axford, yes. Yeah, it was Darren Axford. Tuesday morning, he said, Ted, we got some trouble with the trophy. I said, what happened? He said, it got burnt. I said, burnt? What the hell is that? That thing won't burn. But anyway, sure enough, it got scorched pretty bad, and the OLA wouldn't let us, the CLA wouldn't let us take us to a jeweler and get this repaired. I had a couple of quotes, but they wouldn't allow that. They would send it back to Ottawa, and they had a new one built, and we paid. And the cost of this replica was $10,000, and I'd like to say that my mother donated the first $1,000, and then the rest came from an anonymous guy in Peterborough, and we actually bought this. So the Lakers not only win it, but we've actually bought this thing, paid for the financial part of it. Quite a little story about the cup.
It obviously means a lot to you to have your family like that ingrained in everything.
Amazing.
When you look at this trophy, then I'm guessing you can't help but think about your mom. That's amazing. Do a lot of people know that?
Some might. I think people around the executive. We had a big crew of people. I had 15 to 20 people not sit around our executive, come to meetings and be part of it. We had a lot of people helped us out. The real trophy, the actual Man Cup, is in New Westminster, BC. It's the most valued trophy financially in world competition. Because it's gold. Donald Mann, president of Canadian National Railways in 1907, donated it. Today, the gold value, the meltdown gold value, it's worth about $150,000. So the real cup, being that valued, is in the Man Cup area. I'm sorry, the Canadian.
The CLA?
The
CLA, the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame?
The CLA Hall of Fame in New Westminster. Thanks, Dan, for that.
No problem.
So this is just a copy of it, of which we're very proud. I guess we got 18 wins now. The other team ahead of us is New Westminster. They got 22 wins. I don't know whether they'll be around long enough to see us maybe surpass that, but for the sake of the Man Cup, the game in this great town of Peterborough, we're going to hang in there and see what we can do.
Are there any that mean more to you than the others?
Probably 04, 20 years. They went 20 years without it. I remember the first ones, when Peterborough won the first 4 in a row. Bobby Allen and Curly Mason and Moon Wooten and so on, when we were young lads used to go and watch. They were fun. And then after that, I think in 55, 56, we won a championship. 04, because we'd gone 20 years and they had no lacrosse. The team had folded. And to pick up the pieces, and I mean pieces, not many pieces, and we were able to put this thing together with a lot of help from a lot of friends and a lot of enthusiasts like me wanted to have a great competitive team. I say thank you to them. 04 was truly the best, and we have a little ring here to signify that.
Is that the one that you wear always? You always wear the 04 ring?
I wear when I'm going to wakes, weddings, and interviews with Dan Malta. Special occasions.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to special players now. You've seen, I guess, both John Grants. You've seen everybody. You've seen John Tavares. Like, in terms of the players that you saw during your career, both playing, coaching, managing, everything, is there anybody who stands above the rest?
Well, there's quite a lineup, Dan, as you know, and our lacrosse fans know in Peterborough we have been so blessed to have so many. If I was starting a franchise over the years, the 40 years I've been at it, I think my number one pick would be Pat Baker for goal. He was the best, whisker behind Moon Wooten. And then I would pick a guy named Johnny Davis. And Johnny Davis was a guy that could do it all. We had Johnny Grants, and the two of them were. Tavares, the game's a one-way game now, but they used to have to come back and play defense. And Davis was a great penalty killer, ragged the ball, and he could throw the ball in. For that reason, I take Johnny Davis as my offensive guy, and the other names you mentioned could come 2, 3, 4, 5 after that. But probably the Baker was the best goalie of the bunch. Mind you, we got some great goalies today, but over 40 years, that would be my pick.
So as a goalie, who was the hardest person that you ever had to face in terms of shooting?
John McCauley, the referee, the National Hockey League referee who died in the operating table back 15 years ago. In a series in 61 with the Hastings Legionnaires, I was the goaltender. For the first 3 games, we got behind 3-0. We lost all 3 games by 1 and 2 goals. And then Russell Dunn, who was the number 1 goalie, who had kind of left the camp here, they were able to find him and convinced him to come back and play game 4. And Russell finished out, and we beat them 4 straight. But the best guy to shoot a ball was Johnny McCauley. He was an amazing guy.
Just a different release? Like, I know that the twister shot exists now.
No, he'd undershoot. He'd fire the ball underhand.
Okay.
And he was a very, very competitive guy, and of course he turned out to be a National Hockey League referee-in-chief, as a matter of fact. But we had guys like Jerry Cheevers, who played for Boston Bruins. We picked him up for that year.
Was Jerry Cheevers a goalie in
Gary Cheevers
lacrosse?
was the goalie, and we picked him and Peter Burge from St. Catharines. We could add 3, and Gary Landoni from Fergus to bolster our team. We had to do this when you had to win five games with a 4 out of 7 series.
Did Jerry Cheevers have the mask with the scars on it as well in lacrosse? I know in hockey he had the painted scars for every puck he took in the face.
But he was young and foolish then.
Okay.
Lacrosse players didn't wear masks. They didn't wear helmets then.
Not even the goalies at that point?
The goaltenders wore masks,
Okay.
yes. But just prior,
All right.
and it was just a baseball mask. But the guys didn't wear helmets when we played. Shortly after that, they changed. They got smart and started looking after the guys.
I can't imagine that. Now the thought of also an underhand shot for a goalie. A lot of people have never played goalie in lacrosse or goalie in any sport. So what was the difference in a shot that's coming from down here at your knees versus one that's coming from waist high or even shoulder high?
Well, when you're standing up and you have your stick in one hand and the other, you have about that much room. You've got to do a lot of bending over to stop a shot down here. And some great shots. The Davises both shot underhand and overhand. Terry Davis had a great underhand shot. His shot was a little more effective than John's because Terry had an ability. He'd take the stick and he'd hold it back behind him and he'd wind up and drive it, and it was all behind him, and all of a sudden it's there, where these other guys, they have it out in front of them and you could telegraph what's happening. So Terry was very effective. He'd hide it and let her go.
It's like a pitcher who hides a curveball delivery or something like that?
Yes, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is, and the balls in lacrosse are coming just as fast as a hockey puck or a baseball in Major League Baseball as well sometimes, and to not be wearing masks must have been a battle. I'm guessing you must have taken some that just would have rocked you.
The equipment was so bad out there, and at the end of the summer here, your arms, this part, and inside your legs would be purple, just purple. I remember Patty Baker and I, we used to share. Holy smokes. Yeah, you take a lot of balls and a lot of bruises.
Now, all of the time you spent around the game, you would have had so many conversations and met so many people. Like you're traveling coast to coast across this country, and you're meeting so many new people. What kind of tales from the road and lacrosse really stick out to you?
Well, so many that I couldn't tell you, and some that I wouldn't want to tell you, would share with you. Interesting thing, we had our picnic or our banquet in Hastings at Christmas time. And of course, Hastings was very famous for the only National Hockey League player they produced was Dit Clapper, the very famous defenseman, local boy. And Dit was at the banquet, and I got the chance to drive him home. And we talked not lacrosse, but about hockey. And this was my fall coming up with the kids going to Quebec. A couple little things that Dit shared with me about coaching and so on. It was an interesting conversation that I'd never forget. Other people that came to me after we won, people like George Red Sullivan, Gary Darling, because my input with the hockey, I was just a trainer, bumping around the trenches with them guys and riding the buses and so on. They were always they were always there. They never went by without a little card or thank you call. And Ted, what a great job. Coming from those people, pretty gratifying, and I'm a pretty lucky guy.
For Dick Clapper, what was his coaching advice?
Well, about Pee Wee hockey and where to play on the face-offs, what to do.
Where to put the players? Yeah.
Yes, little things like that, and where defense people should play, and who should be guarding a defenseman on a power play, and was amazing.
You talked about how you liked coaching swimming. You coached hockey. What was rewarding for you about being able to, I guess, spread the knowledge and share that with the younger generation?
Well, once again, winning was everything.
Yeah.
But also I was there to give everybody an opportunity, and I thought in the house league, there were years there that I had an all-star team, and then I coached a couple of house league teams because there wasn't enough coaches way back in the Peterborough Minor Hockey Day. And we always rolled the lines. We gave everybody a fair shot. We didn't go out there and power play everybody to death or short man. And I was always happy about that, and today I can honestly say that if you played in my team, you got a good shot, and we didn't power play people to death. And most of all, everybody got a chance. They all paid their $25 to play hockey that year, and I felt good about that.
Do you like watching youth lacrosse and minor lacrosse now?
Yeah, I was very, very excited. I have a grandson played minor lacrosse. He gave it up for hockey. Will Everson. Will has a very good shot at making the Pete's this year. He's very athletic. He led the major midget team last winter, and with the COVID.
Drafted 2 years ago?
He never got drafted.
Oh, okay.
He had eight other kids on that team got drafted,
okay.
and they missed Will. Anyway, the light will come on here one day, I'm sure. Hopefully the COVID is gone, and our great Pete's will be ready to rock and roll here in December. We keep our fingers crossed. It's going to be tough.
And more family connections. It's Len Powers and Steve Webb for you.
Yes.
And Steve Webb, talk about. I remember Steve Webb playing with the Islanders, and I think everybody in Toronto fans, they hated him more than anything,
yes.
Right? Watching that type of series. I don't know if you're a Leaf fan or what you are, but watching your nephew play.
Leaf fan, you're talking? Are they still in business?
Who knows? Who knows?
They haven't been around for 100 years. Stephen, Lenny Powers, he's very special to me. I married Lenny's sister, and we have two great girls, Tammy and Tracy. But Lenny played Pee Wee hockey and right through. And of course, Paul came along. He married my wife's sister, Mary, and they had two, Krista and Stephen. The nice thing about Stephen wasn't a goon. He was a hitter, just a physical guy, bounce guys. And I could stick up for him or stand up for him. He never gooned anybody. He just strict, hard knock guy, honest checking. And Stephen was a great competitor.
Yeah, he sticks out loud and clear. You can remember it from his playoff style play in the playoffs, right?
And now he's working for the association with a heart for the association and the game. So, Stephen, we're pretty proud of him.
So watching sports is something you enjoy to do, obviously. And how competitive do you get when you're watching the Lakers games now? And also, where do you do you have one space where you like to stay during the games? Is there kind of a spot where you have to go to? Do you get superstitious?
I have a couple of chairs up on the far side there on the east-west side. My probably space that I like to look forward to is at the end of the game when I can go down and thank people for coming and supporting us. Good night, folks. Drive careful. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, because they're the people that put on the show. They pay the bucks, and without them, we couldn't do it. And my duty, after all said and done, is thanking them, saying, good night, guys, drive careful, thanks for coming, we appreciate your support.
Now you see the Lakers kind of all around the community. When you do see the guys running the lacrosse kids camps, everything, I'm sure it's been going on for a very long time, but what does that mean to you in terms of helping grow the game of lacrosse in this town, or just keeping it going?
We talk about the schools and the kids running the game. I remember when I was younger, when I first started, Bobby Allen ran the lacrosse school, Donnie Berry ran lacrosse school at the old Miller Bowl, so it's been going on that long, since back in the early 50s. But it's very gratifying. These young kids Laker guys are putting time back into the kids, and we're developing more Lakers, and hopefully we're going to surpass the New Westminster number of 22 and maybe get to 23 Man Cups for our great city, Peterborough.
How important is it for you to have local talent on the Peterborough Lakers, on the senior Lakers?
It's most important. When we were growing with our team, we had about 4 or 5 years that we didn't do very well, and if we did, we just got to one round. And one of the great things were Steve Evans and Steve Self were graduating as juniors, and when those two guys came along, the local talent really stood out. But most of all, they were very talented juniors. That's when we really started to grow our team and get stronger. And after that, the minor lacrosse had a good run of guys, and we have many, many guys from Peterborough through our minor system. Yeah, there's no question local kids make a difference. For the Peterborough Pete's, we love to see you get more local talent on here, because we like our local guys. You might put another 500 people in the arena if you get some more local kids. We like our local guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something to come out and watch for sure. And you talked about how winning is everything. When the winning is that close to the next degree of person, I guess, to the fan. So when they can go out and maybe be at the mall one day and see one of the a member of the Evans family, a guy they just watched on Thursday night, and they see them win, do you think that has an impact as well?
It's huge impact, definitely. And everybody likes to be part of something. It's great to come to watch the Laker game, but if you get a chance to rub shoulders with one of the kids going out or the players going out, or hear a Laker interview with one of the guys. I mean, it's human nature. People, we like to be attached to people, and yeah, it's to get the fan on your side and make them grow as part of your family. They get more involved, and of course, it's more prevalent that they want to be there every single game and pay their $25 a seat to watch, which in turn creates championships.
And now let's take you through a whole season of Lakers lacrosse. Are there dates that stick out to you can look at on the calendar and say, I know our opening night, I'm going to sing the anthem, hopefully raise a banner, and feel the energy from the crowd? Is it the first night of the playoffs? Which nights really stick out for you and do you look forward to the most?
One of our great nights is having Camp Mosheva, the Jewish camp here. We bring 400 or 500 kids in from the camp, and they paint their faces and they draw their masks, and they all wear their little T-shirts. But most of all, they had some great enthusiasm. They had Laker chants, which they make up and so on. Enthusiasm in the arena is so important to not only the players on the floor, but the people who sit in the seats. They come here for excitement, and we are so blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We are so blessed. The key is, you look around the league and look at other teams, and, they struggle. There are a time there when I go into rinks and I think to myself, God, I'd like to help you guys. I'd like to bring a dozen people in here and maybe get a little rah, rah, rah going for you. And the next thing you know, everybody in the arena starts. And however, they're grown up, they're big boys. They should be able to handle it.
Yeah.
I know that the teams in our league, they enjoy coming. Not only their executive enjoy coming to Peterborough on a Thursday night, but the players themselves. To play at this great venue is amazing. So we're helping ourselves, we're doing so much for the league, not only locally here, but nationally. The Man Cups and so on. What our Lakers have done for the game in the last 10 years is amazing.
Now, you have seen at different times where in Brampton there's a full house, or in Whitby, Iroquois Park, there's a full house, but not so much now. What
not
would
so
you
much
point that
now.
to?
And when they do have a full house, 50% of them are from Peterborough.
Yeah.
We're so blessed because these people,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, being part of the game, they come to watch the game, but they get to know their players and they get to know the people that run in the team, and they feel part of it. They'll travel up the road for a couple of hours and pay their $20 at another arena just to be part of this great association.
Now, what do you think the reason is why Peterborough's drawing and they're not? If you were to offer, not advice, but if you were just to look at it on the surface and say,
we have
missing?
a wonderful executive and a wonderful, great bunch of people. But then again, when I look at some of their problems, in Peterborough we have a daily paper, we have a paper that comes twice a week, we have 5 radio stations and a television station. These other centers do not have that, like the Bramptons and the Oakvilles and even Oshawa. They have a bi-weekly paper, one radio station. We're isolated here. We're the only game in town. We're down in the metro area, and of course so many other things are happening. I think we got truly an edge because we're isolated and we have all these other functions who support us dearly. They support us to the hilt.
And now with the league, as you look at how it's a roller coaster in terms of where it is in its health, I guess you could say. But as you look at the health of the league going forward, what do you think is important? What do you think has to happen to keep it progressing?
Well, we've increased the draft part of it so that the lowest placed team gets first pick of the players, and we've able to put it not a bounty, but we're able to lock them in. If you draft a player for a year, he's there for a year. He cannot be traded and so on. So some of the weaker teams, they're able to build. Their ability to get out there and do what we've done is a little better now than it ever was. First of all, money is most important. They either have to have a great sponsor and or put more people in the arena, because this world we live in is driven by the dollar. I don't know why that is, but the dollar is everything. And if you can create some of that stuff, you'll be much more successful.
Now, as we talk about the league, there are times when commissioners of, I guess, the OLA or CLA have been booed in this arena. What does that come from? Where does that all stem from?
Golly, it's like Gary Bettman. Who likes Gary Bettman? But Gary Bettman, look where he is. He's doing a great job. And if you look at the financial or the business part of what he does it very, very well. And I think the same thing applies. You know, Joe Blow fan, he expects all the calls to go your way. They don't go your way. It's 50-50. In fact, if you get 50-50 in some of the calls and executive decisions, you're doing very, very well. And sure, some of the commissioners here are well, funny little guy, Jim Brady. They didn't like him. But anyway, I worked with Jim Brady for 10 years at least, and we got along very well, and I respected him, and I always put him up here when he's in Peterborough. We showed him great seats and whatever, because they're all trying to do a great job.
Yeah, they'll have the best interest of the game in mind, you expect, right?
Truly, yes, yeah. But, you know, you can't have every call go your way. Darn it.
So the fans will just point the blame at the top, I guess.
Truly, yeah. You know, we all come and we watch the Pete's or we watch the Lakers and ref makes a bad call. Say, that's life. We're all human, and some may be right calls, some may be bad, but we're all entitled to make a couple of boo-boos as we go through.
Did you always have that attitude, or is that something you developed recently?
Oh, I've lost a little bit of my edge over the years, yes.
Yeah.
But I was always able to get up and get slapped down and get up and go right back at it again. Sometimes like a fool, but hey, I'm at my age. I'm very pleased, very happy, and very proud of my accomplishments. You know, most of all, I consider myself a very fortunate person. Everybody who has a team or an ambition or whatever, to get there and be successful is most important. Well, you know, there's a hell of a lot of people who don't get there. They try and they don't get over the hump. For me, I'm very blessed.
And you, sir, from your upbringing, and you're adopted, and to bring that through, and how much does that mean from your parents to raise you through sport and to have adopted you and to bring you to where you are now?
Well, the adoption part of it was a wonderful part of my life. It doesn't really interfere with my sports game. I was very fortunate. My mom and dad, I never knew any different, really. They were mom and dad, like your mom and dad. And they were wonderful people. It's great.
Yeah, and going forward, you face challenges through your life, and how much did sports help you progress through those challenges?
Well, it made you sleep better at night. You go out and run the floor for 2 or 3 hours. You could go home and go to sleep or go to work the next day, but it's always something there for you to think about. The mind was very healthy because it was very busy, always wondering how you could achieve or get better at your second time round.
Where did your focus lie? You had your business life and you had your Lakers life, and did they just become one and the same?
They truly became one of the game. Yeah. It was, some nights the nights were pretty short because there wasn't much time to sleep. I was pretty busy.
Now, where you're at now, I know you were recently diagnosed with Parkinson's, and what kind of support have you seen from people that you've spent your life with in the Peterborough sports community?
Yeah, very, very funny situation. I grew up in a family where my dad had Parkinson's all his life, and he had a very bad tremor. And he died at 74 of pneumonia. The Parkinson's didn't take him. But I noticed here back 3 years ago when they raised my banner here, which I'm most proud of, I went over to the mic after a long conversation with the blow-up about this guy who was being inducted, whatever, and I grabbed the mic in my hand, had quite a tremor, and I thought, what the hell is this all about? Anyway, so I went to see a neurologist, and I thought I had a shaky hand syndrome, I used to call it, and the neurologist says, will you walk down the hall there? Well, when you walk down the hall, your hand starts to tremor a bit. He said, yeah, you do have Parkinson's. So I joined the local society here, and I went to 2 or 3 meetings, and of course Parkinson's affects people very differently. The tremor is one thing, but some people, they have a very, very slow movement. They are inclined to stumble a little bit in their walking, and their voice dries up, a softness in their voice. And the crowd was aged. They were aged. I'll be 80 next birthday, but I look around, I don't think I'm 80, I think I'm about 35. But I look around at the crowd and I thought, say, you know what, Ted? You're pretty active and you got some of your health left. You can help out. So I joined the team. They have many teams at many different centers, and there were 4 or 5 different teams in Peterborough to raise money. And I said, no, I'm not going to join your team. I'm going to run my own team. We'll call it Teddy's Troopers. I sent out a little notice brochure to all my friends, neighbors, and so on, and if they an invitation to donate to Parkinson's and maybe get a cure for this damn thing. And we're very, very successful. It started out with the league, it's not the lacrosse league. See, people on the lacrosse executive, the office people sent money. And I had a guy from the Toronto Rock, he said, Ted, yeah. He said, I'm in, count me in, $10,000. The Toronto Rock donated for my first big donor. And then after that, I had the ability, through friends, wonderful friends, lacrosse people and so on, I'm able to raise $35,000 and counting. This team of mine, Teddy's Troopers, is the #1 team in Canada, and I think this might be an achievement of which surpass any of these.
That is amazing, and the sports community is always something that amazes me. And you say it means more to you to have everybody step up, I guess, with you in this moment, and you can't compare it to anything else. It really is that much above.
I think when they all come back and people donate, if you go on teddystroopers.com, they have a rotating list of the donors. And to watch the donors and people that I've had acquaintances with over my life and have them donate is most gratifying.
It has to be. It would have to mean a lot. That clearly you mean a lot to them, and to know that all the effort that you put in and those times where maybe you thought about, what am I doing here, as you said, to know that it all mattered to somebody else. That has to be what it all comes down to.
It's most gratifying. But you know, when I was in sport and getting the hell beat out of us and big whops, lots. Remember the Nations came here, my 3rd year in here, the 6 Nations came here and beat us 20-4, right here in this arena. And you know, however, that's a little more initiative. Ted, you got to do something a little different and a little better to get up and go. All these little things of my life have enabled me to do this wonderful thing for Parkinson's, the acquaintances and the friendships and the things I've done for others. Yeah, baby, we love it. Keep her coming.
So I've liked to ask, or I've enjoyed asking everybody what they want their sports legacy to be. And then on the flip side, what you assume it to be. Now, what do you want your sports legacy to be in Peterborough and I guess across Canada?
Well, Dan, I think I've reached it. You know, as I mentioned, I'll be 80 soon, next birthday. How much longer am I going to be around? Things are going very well. The Lakers are doing well. And how about the Petes? You know, they've had some pretty good years. I'm a great fan of the Petes and all these other associations. We're in pretty good shape in Peterborough, considering the number of people we have, the lack of arenas and playing areas. We're doing a hell of a job here, and not only my associates, but other sports in Peterborough. Say, take your hats off, guys. We can stand up with the best in the world.
Now, that's what you perceive? That's what you perceive Peterborough sports legacy and yours to be. Now, what would you say that Joe Fan thinks of Ted Higgins?
Well, Joe Fan can think whatever he likes. I can say I've made a lot of mistakes, but golly, some of the mistakes have turned to winners, guys. And if you want to be successful, put your best foot forward and do it. And you know, if you get knocked back, get up your ass and get up and try it one more time. Don't give up. We don't learn it all at once. Experience wins championships or achievements, just personal achievements. Don't give up because you got turned back. Turn around and give it another try and keep trying until you get over the hump. It can be done.
Do you have any more humps that you need to get over?
Oh my! I'd like to win the 649. I'd give $1 million to the hall here, to the wonderful people at the hall that do a great job of recognizing all these sports here. We are so lucky here. I drove a car across from Peterborough to Victoria one time, and I went into every arena there was that had major hockey to look around at Hall of Fames and so on. There's nothing in Canada, in our nation, that can touch this. For the size of our town, the number of people we have here, and the ability and the things they've done here is just out of sight.
Yeah.
Nobody. How about it? How about Peterborough? Stand up, take a bow. We are the greatest.
Is that how you describe it to everybody?
I sure do. Yeah, we have so much going on here. You know, we a couple of universities and college, and we don't have the employment we used to have, but the land of shining waters, and most of all, wonderful people.
Now, as you go forward in Peterborough, what do you hope to see happen? Or as you look ahead in Peterborough sports and the sports scene, what do you hope to see?
Well, I hope that we're able to maintain, and I'm sure because we're successful at things that I mentioned earlier, being successful attracts people. People like to be part of things that are successful. There's no reason why Peterborough can't be successful forever and ever, even though numbers, the big teams from Toronto and so on will eat you up. There's no reason why you can't be very, very competitive because of the things we have here in our great city. People, the facilities, we're lacking a couple of facilities, but we've got some great people here. And the tradition, you know, this lacrosse tradition, 20 years ago when I picked up the pieces and got the team back in the schedule, there were some great things that went through my mind. I remember when I was a kid, you know, we could attract 3,500 people at the old Miller Bowl and so on, as much as they weren't around then. I was thinking, you know, there's a history here, you know, they've got grandsons and grandsons of these people that were attendees then. Sure enough, lacrosse is not new. It doesn't have to be preached. It just has to put a product on where it be entertaining. So,
yeah, and is the goal to have more plaques on there than New Westminster? Is that your last goal?
You know, Peterborough, we'd like to be number one.
Yeah.
Today we're number two. This could happen because we have all the facilities and we have all the little things you need to be successful. Our team is coming very close to rebuild, but maybe we can go another 3 or 4 years to get there, and I'm sure it could happen.
That's quite the rebuild. That's not a rebuild for most people.
Well, because we have all, you know, we're very blessed. Once again, we have the papers, we have the media. Coach Hugo as well being part of the media, that's very, very important. But that, and the facility, and being a winner, that attracts people. When you start to lose and it starts to slip away, then you really got to dig in, work a little harder to get successful and keep your fan base coming. You know, you have to entertain them. We got to make them happy.
Well, this is off topic from your career in sports, but it is topical and it's something that everybody's facing now. But this past summer, there was no Lakers lacrosse. There was no Thursday night action here at the PMC. Does that worry you at all? Do you feel like it'll be hard? Because you're a person who took it from the ground floor where there was nobody coming to the games. Do you envision a bit of a battle getting it back at any point?
The battle being COVID. We need a vaccine for this, and we need people to be safe. It's very difficult that you could have the Montreal Canadiens playing your beloved Leafs here tomorrow night. Who would come to it? You might get a few fools who are not concerned about COVID, but we got to get rid of this beast, this very, very
Do you think it'll be hard to get your fans back, though? Even if you do have, if everything's back to normal, do you think it'll be hard to get people back in here on Thursday nights?
It will be, because the confidence level, people now, today, are afraid of COVID, where a month ago they weren't. Now they're getting serious about this thing, and they know that it's a silent killer and it's out there. To have them change and get their thinking, no, it's gone, it's disappeared, we're safe. Even though Peterborough's a wonderful area and very little COVID, yeah, that's just the mindset to get people thinking, no, we can go and sit in the arena beside 3 or 4 people and have somebody coughing down in the next row. We can get by that. But the product, they're dying to get back here. People see me every day and they really miss this, and the key is we've got to deal with this nasty fighter, this COVID, this invisible killer of which we all should be concerned about.
What types of challenges will that present for Major Series lacrosse on the other side?
Well, if Peterborough can't make it, the other teams will have great difficulty making it. It's most important we have to deal with this number one. And Dan, there's no getting around it. We can hold out any kind of carrots or any kind of giveaways or bring any celebrities in. We need to deal with the COVID, and when that happens, we're going to be in good shape.
And I'll ask you just one more time to reflect on everything, like a flashback to when you're 13 years old and you're starting to play lacrosse with Ken Rattan, to where you're sitting right now. If you could summarize it in your whole sporting life, what does it all mean?
Well, I'm going to reiterate. I said I am so fortunate because I have been on some losers and to have some great winners. And I am so fortunate. Some of the good fortunes I've had could have gone the other way. You know, you get an overtime game of lacrosse or hockey and it goes against you. We've had a lot of good things happen, and with the Man Cup and the lacrosse victories, I've got more than my good part. I'm so blessed to have those occasions where so many people who worked as hard and maybe put as much time and money into things that they wanted. My dreams have all come true, and I'm just elated. I'm so happy.
Now, the OLA and CLA inductions, the Peterborough District Sports Hall of Fame inductions, for you, when you get that recognition, I guess the OLA and the CLA, and that's a little bit bigger than Peterborough, like all of Ontario and then all of Canada, how much did those mean?
There's no question coming to the local Peterborough Sports and District Hall of Fame by far was the most exciting and gratifying moment of my life. It was just what a tribute, what a nice way that people say thank you and recognize the things you've done. Donnie Barry was on the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame selection committee. I shouldn't say this because these are anonymous. And he also on the CLA. And that I think the next summer or that summer, he called me up and said, "Ted, you've just been acknowledged to go into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame." And then about a month later, because he sat on the other one, if they didn't put me into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, all in the same year. So being inducted into this one in June, and the other one in November, and the other one in October, all in 1 year. Damn, don't you think they could have spread this thing out and we'd had a little more fun? Hey, we'll take it. It's been wonderful, guys. It's been a great trip.
Just a big year for you.
In
99, yeah.
A very big year, yes.
Okay, and knowing that, I'm guessing Don Barry went to bat for you a little bit, what does that mean, knowing, again, it's somebody who you know very well, that they were willing to step out on a limb for you?
Well, Donnie Barry and I have had our differences, 3 different differences. I was able to sign Donnie up 3 different occasions to come and help out our Lakers. I think probably as the growing and the actual not putting the team on the floor, but banding the kids together back when we had nobody and we had a loser, so to speak, team. Donnie Barry was always there for us, and I acknowledge and recognize his contribution to this great association. So Donnie, as always, good job.
Well, Ted, thank you so much for sharing your stories. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll be able to see you pick up one of these again. We'll pick up this exact trophy again right here.
Well, thank you, Dan. It's been a blast here. I've enjoyed this. I was kind of wondering how we were going to fill an hour, but you've pried a lot of things out of me, and I hope that I haven't been a boring.
Absolutely not.
Great.
Absolutely not.
Thanks, guys.